Welcome everybody, Coffee Break FP&A for professional services industry. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm just going to go over some Zoom info. I'm sure you guys are familiar, but it's always good just to kind of refresh. A few tips on the Zoom platform. So you can engage with the presenters you guys can engage with the presenters to have the best experience. You should see the following icons on your Zoom toolbar: ask a question, chat, and raise your hand. The best ones to use is ask a question and we'll get to your answer, or you guys can use the chat button to submit a question. If you need any assistance, you can also click raise hand and I'll connect with you. We do encourage you guys to ask questions throughout the presentation. We'll either try to answer it at that moment or we'll get to it after at the end. If you experience any audio issues, you can access your audio settings and test your audio when you're in the meeting. At the bottom left-hand corner of the Zoom toolbar, you'll find either headphones or microphone logo to join audio or mute, unmute. You can click join audio to choose to connect your computer audio or dial in with the phone. Just as a reminder, we will send out the recording of this webinar as well as this deck within 72 hours. So here's an overview of our agenda. We'll go over some learning objectives and introductions. We'll go over some industry challenges, some typical KPIs, how to utilize an FP&A solution, and then some closing and Q&A. So for the learning objectives today, so empower practice leaders with self-service reporting and analysis to make faster, better decisions, improve visibility and reporting, gain efficiency by automating data, and improve cost, discipline, and prioritize workforce. We have two amazing presenters today, Jason Worth and Gabe Masis. Jason, you want to shoot off just a short intro?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Tracy.
Yep.
Great to be here. Looking forward to the discussion. My background, I've been with the firm Armanino 5 years, coming up in December. I'm out of our Chicago office, if you could tell by my Chicago flag. And my background, cut my teeth in FP&A. So did the corporate finance thing for a handful of years. When I was practicing in FP&A, not directly in professional services, but worked in a industry that was very project driven, so project and people driven. So a lot of similarities that I lived in my FP&A life. And since I've joined Armanino, I had a heavy exposure to working with finance teams to help them become more efficient and effective. And workday adaptive planning has been a large part of that conversation. So looking forward to having Gabe hop in the tool here.
Yeah. Hey everyone, my name is Gabe Masis. So I'm one of our FP&A solutions managers here at Armanino within our consulting practice. So I spent my first half of my career in public accounting as an auditor, and then jumped ship over to now the FP&A consulting world within our FP&A technology consulting group, and with my focus right now on Workday's adaptive planning FP&A solution, which we'll show you here later. In this coffee break. So I've been working in the professional services field my entire career. So excited to kind of give you a flavor of the industry and how you might be able to use technology to enhance your reporting and data analysis capabilities. So I think first you want to start with a quick polling question.
Yeah, let's get into it. Pull it up here. All right. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Cool. What is your organization using for FP&A today? We have Excel, Workday Adaptive Planning, Sage Intacct Planning, or if you're using something else, you can shoot us a chat. All right. Go ahead and share the results. Can you guys see the results?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So we got mostly Excel, which isn't a surprise, right?
Not a surprise at all. I like to call it Excel hell.
All right. And we'll jump right in with Jason. Take it over.
Awesome. So yeah, we just want to, before we dive into Workday Adaptive Planning, we want to just highlight some of the challenges that we see in the professional services industry, and Armanino being part of that industry, the challenges that we deal with on a daily basis within our practice as well. But top level, obviously trying to drive profitable growth and having limited insights, into the people, the projects, the profits. I think the polling question, kind of points to this. When you're doing this in Excel, it's really hard to get real-time data, do a lot of what if scenario analysis, and you spend a lot more time compiling the data than analyzing the data. And it's something that we see that's common in the industry. That also goes into, when you're trying to drive profitable growth, you also talk about a lot of M&A activity that happens in our industry. So there's a lot of strategic consolidation, and how do you plan for that effectively and efficiently? Just being project driven. Our industry is very much project and people driven. So being able to effectively manage, track projects, and then also how do we make adjustments for the future to become more efficient and effective? That also gets into the world of talent. So fighting attrition levels, and then also being able to recruit top talent. That's a challenge that we see in our industry as well. And then, when you're dealing with manual process, and it's really hard to have the time. We all have day jobs, to have the CFO suite and their teams invest in innovation and transformation. So everyone wants to do it. Having the time to be able to drive and invest in innovation and the transformation is something that we see as a challenge as well. Next slide, please. Thanks, Tracy. So some of the key drivers that we see and work with our clients to help track when we talk about being able to get real-time data, get insights into the business, key indicators that help you really drive the business forward. Things like bill through, realization, utilization, people costs as a percentage of non-people costs as a percentage of revenue. Talked about attrition and being able to attract talent. So personnel planning. I mean, we're a people-driven industry, so personnel planning and demand planning around projects is huge. So how can you run simulations, and how can you best leverage the talent you have, and hire plan on hiring talent for the future? And then also we talked about manual process, offline work. A lot of that time gets spent by partners. We don't want partners and leaders of our business being pulled into those manual process. We want them focused on innovation, and really driving the business forward through transformation. So how can we most effectively leverage our partners and our leaders, and give them the data points versus them having be part of the collection process? So that's really a lot of the key performance indicators we're looking to address in industry. I'll turn it. Awesome. Do we have a polling question?
Yep. Thank you, Jason. That was awesome. Polling question 2. All right. Did that pop up?
Yes.
Great. So what key drivers are most impactful for you? We have personnel planning, apex planning, revenue planning, and KPI reporting. All right, and I will share the results here. You guys see the results there?
Yep.
Perfect.
And for the people that answered KPI reporting, if you want to put in the chat the different KPIs that you look to track, that would be awesome.
Cool. All right. And Gabe, I will let you get
Yeah.
into the next slide here.
Yeah. So, as we were talking about technology, one of the solutions of choice that, we partner with Workday on, and which actually at the firm here at Armanino, we use ourselves is Workday Adaptive Planning. So really quick background of our partnership there. We, since it's a cloud-based solution, right, you can access this platform from anywhere. So as one of the leading solutions in the FP&A space, this solution was developed for finance professionals, which means, there's no coding, there's no scripting involving, any of your IT groups, right? It's really for us finance professionals. So we can easily maintain and update our data, and don't have to get any of those, developers involved, which we all know takes time. So the tool is really meant to be your one-stop shop to all of your budgeting and forecasting and reporting needs. It really gives more flexibility and more time to analyze data, as Jason said, instead of compiling and changing data and reports, which we all know can be a very cumbersome process. So just a quick background there, and then what I'll do is I'll actually get the tool now. So I'll steal the screen from you, Tracy. And before I get too far into it here, so the solution really works in three silos. So the first one is data automation, right? So which is going to be integration from any application. So typically your ERP or data warehouse. But we also see folks integrate sales data, payroll, HR type of data, right? Technically we can integrate anything into Adaptive, right? If you want to see the data, we can get it in there. So you can, and then you can refresh your data as much as you want, using the tool. So really thinking about all those month-end close and all the journal entries accounting is booking at month end, right? The integration eliminates that back and forth communication, as you can refresh your data as much as you want. The second silo is really your modeling and your budgeting, and our forecast. So this is where all your inputs, assumptions, calculations are all happening to build that budget or forecast, to then all flow into the reporting and the dashboards, which where we'll spend most of our time here today. So just want to give you a quick overview, right? Won't be able to get into every single piece of how it works, but we would love to show you more if you are interested in kind of seeing the beginning to end product.
And one thing to call out, we're calling things that they're in their, different silos. I just want to make sure that it's not being confused, that everything is interconnected within Workday Adaptive Planning, one database. So we're referring to it as a silo, but everything works together when you talk about what you'll see in this model.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. All right, so first I'm opened up here on dashboards. So you can see pretty simple standard graphs you have going on here. So you can actually have these dashboards be the first screen that a user sees upon the login. So really good for C-suite individuals when you don't want them to get too in the weeds of modeling and all that stuff, right? They have the results right here at their fingertips. So you can see right off the bat, there's a couple, pretty common metrics that you would see. These are all very highly customizable. So, and as budget owners or as users of Adaptive, you can sift through different levels. So if I own department A, I could see this only at my department, and be able to manage data only at my department. So many layers of that type of security throughout Adaptive as well. Okay, so I'm going to click on this next dashboard, the revenue analysis. So you can see a few different relatable graphs or metrics that you might use for your organization, right? So whether you're looking at pipeline analysis or maybe you're in the bookings, bookings is something you look at, but you have services revenue by location, right? So here I can actually click this, right? This is saying this is the United States. I'm clicking there and I can actually drill down to see my data, right? So if I can drill down by a customer, well, what makes up that number? Well, I can see these 4 customers make up that one particular portion of that graph there, right? And I can continue to drill down, right? So maybe customer 4, I'm curious what makes up customer 4. Well, it's these 2 departments, right? So I have this fast and reliable data that I can have access to, right at my fingertips and be able to drill down and be able to access that data, especially when someone asks you a question about certain pieces of a report. Okay, so I'm gonna go back here. Okay, so just want to give an introduction to the dashboards, right? This is the end product, as I talked about, kind of those 3 steps earlier. I'm going to pop over to another set of dashboards here, and we're going to talk about active dashboarding and a little more specific to, the professional services industry and how to manage your workforce planning, right? So I'm going to click over here to the workforce planning tab. So you can see here that this is what we call like a sheet in Adaptive. And then down here, you can see we have some graphs. I also have a link to a report, right? And I'll show you how they're all interconnected here in a second. But the power of Adaptive here really is I have data for employees that live at this department called Sales North, right? And what if I wanted to create some type of what if? What if I hired someone new? What if I hired a group of individuals? Those type of things. I have the ability to do that using Adaptive's version control, right? So no longer do I have to, in Excel, use my version 1, version 2, version 3, many different sheets, right? I have this control up here of versions where I can actually create a version to say, what if I did hire someone new, right? And I'm going to show you that here in a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this report here. This report's going to pop up. So right now, just quick overview. This is my actuals, and you can see my GL accounts here on the left. Then I have two budget versions. One that's kind of like my working current year budget, and one that's what if I hired someone new? So right now, both of these versions have the same set of data, which is why you see a variance of 0 as I scroll down. But if I go back and say, well, let me go to this version here, I'm calling it the what if new hire ads, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, what if I did hire someone new? And I'm going to come over here and copy that row, right? And just say 200,000 and hit save. So now I've added someone to, and I'm gonna call them, just call them new hire. Okay, and then let's say they start in 10/1/2023. Okay, hit save. So by making that one change, I can go back to my report, right, and hit refresh. And instantaneously, my data has refreshed, and now I can see, now I have a variance, not only in my expenses, right? I know my salaries, my taxes, all that's going to change. But as I scroll down, I can see there's other changes, right? There's changes to depreciation, right? There's maybe they need a new laptop or whatever, right? There's changes to my balance sheet, right? What's my balance sheet impact, right? My cash flow now changes and all my metrics are changing, right? So really wanted to convey there is one, as you manage your budget and forecast, like within Adaptive, you have the ability to see those changes live and have that data easily accessible and be able to analyze your data now. And I can actually drill down and see what's going on here, right? Maybe I wanted to click this number. Well, it's gonna open up another screen, and you have the ability to drill down to what that number is, right? So I can, kind of a common theme here. You have the ability to drill down deeper and deeper and deeper, where you may not have had that ability to do that before.
And this is showing a lot of the expense side. If the individual that you hire is on more of the business development side of things and also, will drive revenue, then you'll also see the impact to revenue if you have assumptions around those types of hires as well. So just wanted to call that out too.
Yeah, good point. Okay. The other piece quickly I wanted to hit on is, I know I talked about workforce, project planning is obviously a big piece here in this industry. I'm gonna click on this project planning sheet, right? All of these sheets, this sheet I'm showing you, it's highly customizable, built from the ground up. But you can see here, this is a simple project profitability planning model where, I have my customer, I have a project manager, what's the job name, the billing type, when it starts and ends, right? All these key input fields that you have to drive these calculations for whether it's revenue or cost, can be inputted within these sheets and modeled out in Adaptive. And then similar, right? We have this sheet, but in the end, all of this stuff is going to then flow into a report such as this, where I'm seeing, it's very simple. I have my quarter breakdown for the year. What's my revenue and cost per customer, right? You could have it revenue and cost per project, per individual. Like you could do all these type of things and be flexible and dynamic in the reporting, in Adaptive. Okay. All right. So a few minutes left here. One, yeah, go ahead, Jason.
I was just gonna say one, like, just real life example that we lived to call out in the last few years as we lived through COVID. A lot of professional service firms like ours were in the accounting and consulting space, are driven by a calendar sometimes on how we look at getting a lot of WIP, working toward like a tax deadline, for example, in April. Well, when COVID hit, unforeseen circumstances, the tax deadline pushes into July. And that's a huge impact to our business. It's a huge impact to billings and cash collections. So, how does that impact the business? And this is what you're seeing here is how we modeled that out, to get to the impact, and then also run scenarios through those different versions that Gabe put together to be able to model and figure out how we're going to address it as a firm moving forward. So just wanted to like kind of highlight a real world example we lived in the past few years that that made a big impact.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. All right, we have a couple minutes left here. So one other thing, and I just want to show that there's a powerful functionality that I think resonates with a lot of us here on the call is Adaptive has what they call Office Connect. It's a quick add-in to Excel where you can use your Excel reports, but use Adaptive data and then be able to update your board reporting fast. What I mean by that is I currently have this huge Excel workbook, right? And my Excel workbook is based in February. So when I click through, everything is based on February as I click through here. I have graphs based on February. I also have a PowerPoint from my board report. It's also February, right? And you can see all of these screenshots here are February. Well, Adaptive has the power to, as you update your Excel file, update for the next month or whatever, it can automatically update your PowerPoint or your Word document so that you're no longer having to worry about, copying, pasting those graphs again and doing all that admin work that takes hours of your time. With one click of the button, you can change that. You can change all your data in PowerPoint at Word. So what I mean by that is I'm going to refresh this sheet and I'm actually going to go to, let's move this forward 1 month. And this date can be dynamic or fixed. I'm going to refresh all my sheets here. Okay. So all the tabs within this Excel document have now updated for March data. So you can see here, we have all of March. Now in PowerPoint, you can see I have February. Well, if I refresh, boom, March is now there. I have all of March data. Now my March data is here in my PowerPoint. Now you're spending your time just updating the verbiage and you're not worried about copy and pasting and all that stuff. You can now save yourself time, right? Where you don't have to put together those lengthy board decks anymore. So I wanted to end with that, as I think that resonates with any industry, any finance professional, as we're doing these type of tasks. You have Adaptive has the power to use Excel, use your already existing Excel reports and be able to quickly change your board reports to the current month or whatever month you're working in with one click of the button. Okay. So I think we have one last polling question, and then if there's any other questions, we can answer quickly here. That we have a couple minutes left.
All right, here's polling 3. Are you considering changing your FP&A system in the future? Yes, within 6 months, within a year, no, we're happy, or not sure. Alrighty. Here's the results. Look like there's quite a few of you within the next year are kind of happy or maybe kind of uncertain. So we're here to help if you guys have any questions, you know, kind of figuring out where you are and where you want to be. Gabe and Jason are experts here. So just advanced slide if you guys have any questions. There's an email. Again, we'll send this out within 72 hours if you guys want to reference the PowerPoint slide. Any kind of closing? I don't think we have any questions that I'm going to answer online. Any closing remarks, Gabe or Jason?
No, I just want to thank everyone for taking the time. And like Tracy mentioned, if you have any questions, Gabe and I are always here as a resource. So feel free to reach out.
Yeah. Thank you guys for being online today. I appreciate it and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.